he's right. LGBT folks shouldn't be allowed to work with children at all because LGBT folks are automatically child predators. And so there you go. That's the whole issue.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Here in Huntsville, we have had an incident at space camp. At space camp that has really captured the imagination of a lot of our pundit class and politicians, if you can imagine that. And it's not... It's so frustrating because there are so many real issues in the state of Alabama that politicians could be focusing on, but they're not. Instead, they're focusing on the situation at space camp. And literally within 24 hours of some of this stuff going viral on Facebook, you had Congress people and senators coming out with statements about this. It's absolutely ridiculous. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about there is an employee at space camp who is transgender. And that's it. That's it. That's all that it is, frankly. And I'll tell you why I know that's all that it is here in a little bit. But I don't want people to see this segment or hear this segment and think that I'm glossing over some of the other stuff. And so I want to address some of the other stuff. Some of the additional claims about this situation are that this transgender woman walked in the hallway of the girls' dorms, which is like, what? Walking in performing duties as a hall monitor? You're upset about that? That's bizarre. Like that, if I'm imagining this correctly, there's a hallway and then the dorms with the doors are closed, right? And so you're walking. I mean, a man could do that, could perform that duty. This is just a bizarre thing to be upset about. But okay, so there you go. That's one of the things that people are really upset about is that a transgender woman was walking down the hallway of the girls' dorms to make sure that everything was okay. Very upset about that. Here's another one. The transgender employee, quote, went into the girls' changing area to instruct the people at space camp, the girls, to hurry up as they are changing or doing whatever they're doing. And now went into, what does that mean? I don't know. Does it mean that this employee just creaked open the door and they're looking out in the hallway and they're saying, hey, let's hurry up. We got to be at this thing in a little bit. Is that it? Or did this person, go into the girls' changing area, and like look at every single girl like, you need to hurry up. You need to hurry up. The second one, I would say, would probably be inappropriate for anybody, right? I don't know exactly how these things work, but, that just seems like maybe that's, that sounds weird for any adult to be doing in a minor's changing area. But, look, I'm not sure what exactly the policies are around that. And then there's another one. She had a, quote, gender is a universe. There's a sticker that had like a rainbow, gender is a universe, on her laptop. And they're saying that this is indicative of her wanting to trans the kids because she has a sticker on her laptop that says gender is a universe. And she said, quote, that she hopes the kids see it and, quote, is proud of themselves in this big universe. Okay, so there is no indication that she is saying that, I hope that a kid, says, I like your sticker, and then she can go into a tirade about how you need to, be a transgender person. That's how, and go into this whole speech. No indication of that. But just an indication that, look, if you see as a child and you're LGBT and you see that, an adult that you're around has an LGBT sticker, you can, all she is doing there is saying that, like, you know, I hope they feel welcome and I hope they feel proud of themselves as a person and that, you know, all of this kind of stuff. No indication that there's any instruction going on around that, obviously. And so those are all of the claims. All of the claims. And the only one that is even remotely, you know, that you could even remotely be like, I don't know, maybe that's weird, is walking into the girls' changing area. Did that happen? That is only one allegation on Facebook, on the internet, by some, you know, anonymous person.
A questionable source. Let me just say that.
Questionable source, right? But look, you know, is that normal? I don't know. I mean, when I was, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, when I was changing in like PE, I don't think the PE instructors came in. The male PE instructors came in. You know, so I don't know.
See, I remember the opposite.
You remember the opposite?
Yeah, I clearly remember the coaches coming in to tell us to hurry up.
Okay.
So yeah, like.
Maybe, I don't know, that seems weird. Maybe, you know, maybe there's a policy against that. I don't, but actually there is a policy against that. Okay, so, politicians were just totally incensed by this. U.S. senators, Congress folks releasing statement within the day the story broke. Absolute lunacy, you know, the priorities of these people. But Space Camp has responded, and they've said, okay, look, as a condition of employment, camp staff undergo nationwide criminal background checks, including court records, Department of Corrections data, state sex offender registries from across the country, and multi-panel drug tests. Additionally, staff sleep in separate rooms from students and use separate bathroom facilities. We also provide 24-hour on-site security, including round-the-clock video surveillance, regular foot and vehicle patrols, and controlled campus and building access. The camp does not allow physical contact between staff and students beyond a fist bump or high five, and no staff member is allowed to be alone with a student behind a closed door. There is also no sharing of personal details, including personal phone numbers, email addresses, or social media information. Discussion of religion, sexual topics, politics, or sharing of opinions and beliefs that may be controversial is also prohibited. They have no access to rooms or bathrooms, and when they have to go in the event of an emergency, 2 counselors must be present. Those are the policies of the Space Camp, and those all seem reasonable. And, you know, look, if a cisgender woman can go into the woman's changing area and say, you know, look, you need to hurry up and then step out, then, you know, that sounds a little weird to me, either a transgender woman or a cisgender woman. But if that happens, then, you know, that is what it is. And it's not a big deal. Like beyond like, you know, is that weird? I don't know. But that is absolutely not a big deal.
And is there any proof any of this happened? Or
right,
is it just
exactly. Is there
the ramblings of some guy on Facebook?
Exactly. And so, look, to the extent that there are any allegations of policy being violated, then those are going to be investigated. And those are, you know, and the result of that is gonna happen, whatever it is, right? And they also have a policy about there's a social media policy, and they're not supposed to wear Space Camp stuff. And we're going to get into that here in just a second, because she had a picture of herself on Twitter in Space Camp regalia. And so, you know, potentially that is a violation of Space Camp's social media policy. And if it is, then, you know, look, you know, they can say, don't do that again. But does that mean they should fire her? Obviously not, right? Obviously not.
No. I would say in most circumstances, you know,
exactly. You would not be fired.
You would not be fired, even in an at-will environment. Most of the time, you're not going to get fired for a very minor social media violation. No.
And so there we go. That's the whole situation. And so if you're a normal person and you're listening to this, you're going to be like, why are U.S. senators releasing statements within 24 hours of this being made public? Because this is such a nothing burger. Nothing even bad is alleged to have happened. Nothing. This is ridiculous. that this is now a national story because of people hyperventilating about this. And all that this is about is really about her being transgender. That's the whole thing. And now you can say, oh no, it's because I'm worried about her going into, an adult going into minors' dressing rooms. That's what I'm actually worried about. And some people say that, and some people will try to hide behind that. But that's obviously not what it's about. That is not what it's about. And I'll tell you this because Dale Jackson last week tweeted, quote, "How many jobs can you keep when you post on social media about how you are, quote, a butch-coated blank queer in your work clothes? 1, Space Camp Child Supervisor. Anyone else?" And so that's referring to a tweet that this woman tweeted with her picture in her Space Camp clothes saying that it was only space-coated or butch-coated space queer. And that was her tweet, right? And so again, if you're a normal person, you're going to look at that or you're going to hear that and say, what's weird about that? What's wrong with that? Because the only thing that you could possibly think is upsetting about that is that this person has publicly identified themselves in their work clothes as queer. Right? That's it. And that is the revelation, because there's nothing in Dale's tweet here about, oh, girls in, people in minors' dressing rooms or anything like this. It's just that this person publicly identified themselves as a part of the LGBT community. And so therefore, they should not be allowed to work with children. And that's it. That's it. That's the exact same stuff that we saw in pink scares of the last century, where in some states there were prohibitions or there were attempts to be prohibitions on homosexual people being school teachers or working in any way with children because of this stereotype of LGBT folks being, just automatically by virtue of their existence, child predators. A pervasive stereotype, and that's all that this is. This is playing into this stereotype about LGBT folks being child predators when there is absolutely zero evidence or even zero allegations of this person acting in a way that would indicate that they have any remote interest sexually in children. There's zero evidence or allegations of anything that would indicate that. And so that's the problem that was identified, is this person publicly identified as part of the LGBT community. And so I mentioned that on Twitter. I said that. I was like, I said something to the effect of, and there you go. That's the whole problem. That's all that this is. That's all that this is about, is that this person is publicly identifying themselves as queer. And so therefore they shouldn't be allowed to work with children. And then, Dale comes back and he tries to backtrack, right? He doesn't defend his original point. He goes back to the other stuff, which is still even in and of itself is not, an issue or, but he goes back to the other stuff without defending his original tweet, because his original tweet is he knows it's not defensible. And so he tried to defend the other stuff, while 2 of his followers replied to me. The only 2 people that replied to me that were taking Dale's position agreed with me. They said yes. Quote, "People with mental illness should not be around children. Gender dystopia is a mental illness." Here's another one. They shouldn't be allowed to work with children. They're mentally ill. Okay, so just he accidentally revealed the issue, which is that he doesn't believe, or he says publicly that he doesn't believe LGBT folks should be allowed to work with children at all. And when he's called on that, he tries to go back to some other stuff. And his followers are just like, yeah, no, he's right. LGBT folks shouldn't be allowed to work with children at all, because LGBT folks are automatically child predators.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
And so there you go. That's the whole issue. And that's why I feel it is incumbent on me as an advocate of workers' rights to speak out against this stuff. Because, this kind of stuff is something where I'm probably one of the areas where I am the least, quote, woke. In that, you might say that, because there are questions that I've asked folks about gender stuff that some people would take offense to, because they would think that, the questions that I've asked are ignorant, or that, that I don't know anything about this stuff, or that I don't understand. And there are things that I do not understand in this area of gender and all that, right? Because, I'm pretty typical white guy, right? And so, look, there's just things that I don't understand about it. But what I do understand, and I don't have to understand it, right? That's the whole thing. I don't have to understand it. And what I do understand is hysterical, anti-worker, pink scare BS. And that's all this is. As long as the facts remain what we have now, there is nothing even remotely serious in the allegations, and she should be left the hell alone, and the people leading this witch hunt against her should shrink back into their caves, ashamed of themselves. That's the state of affairs as I see it. And look, also, it's important to recognize priorities reveal your politics. Priorities reveal your values. Somebody can go down a list and ask you about anything, any question in the world, and you can say, oh, I'm pro-gay rights. I'm pro-gay marriage. I'm pro-abortion. I'm pro-marijuana legalization. And so therefore and a lot of people try to do this, and then they say, therefore I'm on the left, or I'm liberal, or I'm a good person. And then they spend all of their time on nonsense like this, pretending it to be about the children, right? I want to protect the children. Well, these people did not spend week-long crusades against Hyundai for literally, physically endangering children, right? Do you remember that? A year ago, when reporting was coming out about how Hyundai was employing dozens of children as young as 12 in manufacturing facilities that were so dangerous as to be illegal. Multiple OSHA fines over just the last year because of amputation hazards and crush hazards. 12-year-olds working in this environment, literally, physically in danger. And you might maybe have heard an offhand condemnation of it. In that, that's not good. They shouldn't do that. And then they'll go on to talking about some other nonsense that doesn't affect anybody, right? So if you are going on about this, talking about how you want to protect the children, and you did not spend at least the same amount of time attacking Hyundai for physically endangering children, or attacking Steve Marshall for not investigating this, or for not even talking about it, or for not charging any of the management at Hyundai with child endangerment, that's hypocritical. And people listening to you should question how much of this is actually about you wanting to protect the children, and how much of this is just about your own insecurities and your own ignorance and, like I said, like me, right? Your own, you don't understand some of this stuff and you feel like it's icky, and so then you are projecting all of that onto society, and you feel like society should have to adhere to your whatever hang-ups you have, even though there's no evidence of any wrongdoing or impropriety or anything like that. People should question that. People should question that. When you're talking about protecting the children, what is the things that you're actually spending your time on? Because that is what reveals your values.
Yeah, I think it's remarkable that you had a congressman and a senator, hurrying to put out statements about nothing, about just the very existence of a trans person around children. Yeah, they were really quick to put out statements on that, but the reality is that Alabama's children live in some of the worst conditions in the entire developed world. Would you know that from their statements?
Right.
Would you know that from their actions? Right? What about the children in Alabama who suffer day in and day out as a result of our policies, the deliberate public policy choices? And, attacks like this are happening on workers in their workplace. We also have attacks in state capitals across the South and around the country. You have reactionary legislators who are targeting LGBT folks. They're targeting women's rights. They're targeting intellectual freedom. They're cranking out a whole slew of backwards proposals that really try to make life harder for vulnerable groups of people, while trying to increase the division within our society, right? And trying to divide us. And as working people, we can't fall for these tricks. We can't let our class be divided, regardless of gender, religion, ethnicity, immigration status, education background. At the end of the day, the vast majority of people here in Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, wherever you're at, the vast majority of people are working class. We have nothing to sell but our labor. We are the majority. And it's up to us and our unions to make sure that we unite as a majority, because it's our labor that spins the wheels of the economy in our society. And as working people, we have more in common with each other, despite our differences, than we do with the bosses and the politicians. And so, we have to make sure we oppose any attempts to divide us or to target groups of us. We have to ensure that our unions are fighting hard against these sort of efforts. And that's why, workers need unions to protect them from these kind of attacks on your identity and attacks in the workplace. When you get targeted by folks, you need a union to have your back. And so we definitely extend our support and solidarity to all of our fellow workers, even if they don't look like us or think like us or talk like us. Because the answer to bigotry is solidarity. That's what it's all about. You have to be willing to stand up for folks, even if you don't fully understand what they're going through. Even if it's a battle that seems like it's maybe not your battle, but ultimately an injury to one is an injury to all. And so when these far-right people, these special interest groups and, talking heads want to try to target trans folks and queer folks and other minorities, it's really an attack on all of us, because it's trying to get all of us attacking each other. And ultimately, we know that one of the best weapons available for working people to fight discrimination in the workplace and in the economy is the collective power of our unions. Unions can help us build power, build relationships and solidarity amongst each other to withstand some of these bigoted attacks. And we have to organize working people around our common interest, right? We all have an interest in being able to go to our job and do our job and be left alone and not be targeted by some creeps on the internet, right? Or folks with a talk show. We have to have each other's back when it comes to that. I believe that y'all means all. Human rights are not negotiable. So I stand with this worker and with all workers who are being targeted. Everybody deserves dignity and respect, and I don't think that's a lot to ask.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And my all of my solidarity with this woman and her. I cannot imagine what it's like to go through this, having, people calling for strangers, folks from across the country calling for my firing at, minimum, right? I mean, that's kind of that's kind of the tame end of how people are talking about this person.
Yeah. Can I add something else? Something else I just thought of was, it's real interesting the timing of this, because this came out around the same time some other news came out about a local Republican leader who has been charged with murder and sexual torture. Now, you heard that right. Murder and sexual torture. And this person was a campaign manager.
The former president of the Madison County Young Republicans.
This gentleman was very involved in Republican politics in North Alabama. And I didn't see, Congressman Dale Strong make a video or a statement about this. I didn't see Dale Jackson make a video about it. Maybe they did and I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is someone who is one of their peers, who runs in the same circles as them, and who allegedly committed murder and sexual torture. It's a very shocking case. So I encourage folks, if you can stomach it, to look it up. But I just think the timing of, I'm not saying there's anything to that, but it's just interesting that the dynamics of, and the disparate treatment, right? You've got a controversy over nothing. Meanwhile, you've got someone, one of your own people,
right,
one of your own leaders, committing some of the most heinous acts you could imagine, right?
And like zero indication of any introspection. Like, how did this guy who would do this? I mean, really, the things that he put this fellow through before he killed him or after he killed him is like Adam said. I mean, some of the most horrific kind of stuff that you can imagine. And so the person who would do something like that is obviously not a normal person, right? There is no way that I don't know. I don't want to speak too broadly. I think that people can put on masks, but it just seems strange. It would seem like there would be some red flags. And so, not really any indication of like, oh wow, how did we miss that? Right. Among these people. How did we miss that? I spent so much time with this person, had this guy manage my campaign, elected this person. If I'm a young Republican in Madison County, I elected this person to be my president.
Right.
How did I miss this? How did I miss that? Not any indication of any introspection there.
Right. Yeah. And I just thought that contrast is worth bringing up. Right. So, so there we go. But again, the answer to bigotry is solidarity. You don't have to fully understand everybody and know what they're going through, because at the end of the day, you can never know what other people are fully going through.
Right.
No matter how similar you may be or different you may be, all you can know is that we're all human and we're all struggling with a lot of the same crap and the same system and the same, bosses and politicians. So all we can do is try to have each other's back.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.